Good evening, wrestling fans, and welcome to this week's edition of SICW All-Star Wrestling. I'm promoter Herb Simmons, and yes, another week is here, another great Sunday night where we're going to talk about the past, the present, and the future of SICW, and I'm excited tonight to have with me once again my very special guest, somebody that's known to all of you wrestling fans out there, one of the biggest men in the business today, one of the toughest. I'm talking about the Big Texan.
Oh, those are kind words, Herb. Kind words. I appreciate it, though.
Well, it's always a good time to have you on.
I love coming on. So anytime you want me on here, man, we're gonna sit back and talk wrestling all night. So.
Well, and not only are you a tough competitor in that ring, you're kind of a local historian. I mean, every minute of the day and night when you've got time, you're searching the archives of the business.
Oh yeah, I mean my favorite thing to do is find an old stack of books that of wrestling from the 50s, 60s, and I just love reading autobiographies about these guys, And then I don't watch a whole lot of TV, but what I do watch is a lot of YouTube, and it's got to be those classic black and white wrestling matches, man. Those are my favorite.
Well, and that's why we hope you fans who join us here each and every Sunday night on our local YouTube channel enjoy the same thing as we do. It's the passion that we have. And like I said, I've been doing it now for 52 years this February. And I'm kind of like the Big Texan. I mean, if I'm going to watch the wrestling, I want to watch the old stuff that I grew up on. And so we're going to talk about some of that tonight. We're going to talk, like I said, about the past, the present, and of course the future of what's all going on at SICW. But Jim, I want to talk about first, we got a big card coming up in February. We had to cancel January,
yes,
which wasn't the way we wanted to start off 2025.
Right, but we wanted to make sure everyone was safe, so that was probably the smartest thing we could have done.
Exactly. So 2025 is going to be a banner year. We just like every year, we've got a lot of surprises coming your way. We're going to have a bunch of road trips that we're going to be doing, just the same way we had each and every year. Already we're going to the Shriners Temple in East St. Louis on March the 29th, who's the champion there?
Well, currently I am the champion, and that's my favorite show. I don't know why, but...
It's a great place, a great organization. The Ionide Shriners Temple in East St. Louis. Shriners do a fantastic job. It's a great organization, and we are so honored that they have chosen SICW now to help them raise some funds because it goes for a worthy cause.
Oh, yeah. Plus that building, I lived, most of my life in Belleville, Illinois, and I've never been to that building until I started wrestling there. And it just opens your eyes to how beautiful architecture used to be back in the day. I mean, as soon as you walk into that building, it's like, wow. It's like you can't stop from looking at every corner, every inch of that building. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Beautiful building. So, but we'll be there on March the 29th. You're going to hear a lot more about that over the weeks to come. So stay tuned as we head towards that date. But February the 1st, mark that date down. February the 1st at the Belle Claire Fairgrounds, we return. Jim, we say this each and every match. It's going to be a barn burner. It's going to be a slobber knocker.
Definitely.
And January, the show we had to cancel. We had a tag match, was a main event, which was going to be Big Nasty Glenn Williams and the SICW champion, somebody that you're well aware of, Kowalski.
We don't have to talk too much about him, but
but he's tough.
He is tough.
He's big.
I mean, he got me the last couple times I faced him, so he is tough.
So anyway, they were going to be on one side of that squared circle, and then they were going to be taking on somebody that you know real well, and we're talking about your brother-in-law, Bobby D, Belleville's own.
Bobby D. Yeah, Bobby D and Joe Helms. Now, Joe Helms, he's another big tough guy too, because I've fought him a few times, and I don't know what the statistics were, but I tell you, it was a great match because there was a lot of back and forth.
Right, and so what we've done since we had to cancel that, what I decided to do is, let's give the fans. Celebrating my 52 years as in the business, I said, let's give them a double main event on February the 1st. So basically what we did is we just broke that tag match up.
I tell you, me and Bobby talked about this, and you just benefited Bobby. You know, because we talked about how it was going to be a tag match last month, and we love the fact that you broke it up. So now Bobby gets that shot at the Central States title. And then, of course, Joel Helms gets that shot at the Classic title.
And the thing about Bobby D's match against Big Nasty Glenn Williams, I made it a no disqualification match.
Which is another benefit, because I tell you, when they wrestle each other, you know, Glenn Williams normally had some little weasel tactic in there where, you know, Sean Vincent used his loaded boot, or Trent Daniels, you know, hopped in the ring. So this time, you know, anything goes, but Bobby is well prepared for it this time too. So it should be a barn burner.
Well, it will be, and like I said, there's a lot more going to happen that night at the fairgrounds. I want to throw a little shout out there. Our good friend from Worldwide Technology Raceway, Chris Blair, will be joining us. His birthday was actually at the January show, and he was planning on coming there and spending it, but he's going to join us on February the 1st, so hopefully Chris and his whole crowd will show up, and we'll sing happy birthday to him, or get him a birthday cake or something. So
you know, that's one of the great things about SICW is, you know, young or old, you can come in here, have a great birthday experience. A lot of little kids love that, and you know, and everyone should enjoy that too, because people who love wrestling love to come see the action that we bring them, and then just enjoy the evening with their friends and family.
Oh yeah, so February the 1st, doors open 6 p.m. Bell time will be at 7 p.m. and it's going to be a great night right there at the Belle Claire Fairgrounds. And of course, you know, as we've been saying on throughout my social media, these matches are leading all up to May 16th and 17th for FanFest 3, and I know you're excited about that. I don't know if I'm so excited, but I know you are.
Oh, I'm so excited just because at the end of FanFest 2, I remember clearly you saying, well, that's it, we're done, we ain't doing this again. And the next day I was like poking the bear, you know, come on, Herb, you might as well do a three-peat, you know, because you know, the fans, it normally takes one or two events to get the fans hooked on anything, whether it be baseball, football. So do that three-peat, you know, it's just going to bring in the fans, man. It's going to bring in a lot of fans.
Well, and it's a lot of work, as you well know, and and you know, you're one of several people that always help out. And so we're really looking forward to it. This year, you know, we've changed the venue. It's going to take place at the Hilton at the St. Louis Airport.
Convenience right there.
Convenience, man. You know, last year we had over 60 legends that participated, and so we had to make almost 60 trips. I think there may have been a couple of them that drove in, but the majority of them flew in, so that meant we had to get them from the airport to the hotel, and then on a Sunday we had to take them back.
Yeah.
So at the Hilton at the St. Louis Airport, they offer a shuttle every 15 minutes, and it's actually right across the interstate. So
yeah, you can't beat that.
Can't beat it.
No.
Got a bigger ballroom that we'll be in, and so we're really excited to team up with the Hilton at the St. Louis Airport to bring them SICW FanFest 3. And you know, prior to FanFest 1, there had never been one of these, except for we did, Larry Mattisek and I did one back in 2012, I believe. It wasn't like that. We didn't have a wrestling show with it or the Hall of Fame. It was more or less a meet and greet for the whole weekend, and it was in St. Charles. But it didn't have all the fluff that we've got with the FanFest that we do.
Well, even at that, back in 2012, the list of wrestlers that you had, unfortunately, a lot of them are not with us anymore.
Right.
And that's one thing that I appreciate about our FanFest is that you're bringing in the legends. Yeah, there's some current stars here and there, but the legends, the ones that might not be there, you know, next year. Unfortunately, I hate to say that, but it's what you got to think about. If you want to see Greg the Hammer Valentine, this is the time to do it. You know, if you want to see Tito Santana, this is the time to do it.
Right.
I mean, it's just.
And again, not only is it just the FanFest, you know, we throw in the Hall of Fame ceremony, which is, I think each year is just getting bigger. Nick Reddenauer is really the spark behind that knock. You know, he gets the plaques all made up.
Yeah.
Him and I sit down and we hash over who the next entries are to the St. Louis Hall of Fame, because he's been so involved with it from the inception with Larry Matysek and myself and a couple other gentlemen. Our good friend Keith Childress, who used to be with the Post-Dispatch, was part of that. And so we were excited prior to Tony Acosta from the MMWA passing away. We had actually put him on the board. The St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame is, I think, something that we are proud of, because it has so many of those great legends, starting with Sam Muchnick and the list of them, the Funks, the Briscoes, the Von Erichs. And
yeah, I mean, St. Louis was an iconic town for wrestling. And it was not just that, it was tradition here in St. Louis. And, you know, wrestling at the Chase was like generational, because I tell you all the time, my grandfather lived and worked in East St. Louis. And I remember him telling my dad stories about wrestling, and then my dad passed it on to me when I was a kid. You know, wrestling at the Chase and St. Louis wrestling, man, I mean, that's all I can remember growing up. And that's why 24/7 I'm wrestling here today.
You're doing it. You know, and speaking of the Hall of Fame that will take place on that Saturday evening, you know, you mentioned the one name already, Greg the Hammer Valentine is being inducted into that Hall of Fame. His father, the late great Johnny Valentine, has already been a member of that Hall of Fame. And so we are really honored, and I've had numerous discussions with Greg over this event coming up. He's done a lot of work for me in the past, and to enter him into that St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame, he was really honored about that. So he's one of them. We've got Ox Baker, the late Ox Baker, is being inducted in there. His family will be on hand to accept the award that night. Crusher Blackwell was another name that we went back, and we have the advantage of having all the results from the St. Louis wrestling that was left to me from Larry Matysek when he passed away. So I'm able to go back and tell who had the main events. You know, Crusher Blackwell, a former Missouri state champion.
Yeah.
And anywhere he was at, he was a main eventer.
Well, you showed us some hints here the last couple days on your Facebook. You know, bringing out the books and bringing out the index cards.
Oh, you follow that?
Oh, I follow that. Come on now. You know, anytime I can dabble my feet into some history, yeah, I'm all about that. So, again, this is just a way for, if you guys grew up watching wrestling, this is the time to show up, meet your idols, meet the legends, and stay for the weekend, because it's packed.
Yeah.
You got it packed this weekend.
Well, and it's going to be May 16th and 17th, and that Friday night it starts off our good friend Mr. Bill Apter.
Yeah.
And when you talk about a historian, an author, Bill Apter is the gentleman you want to have at your show, because that Friday night on May the 16th, he's going to be conducting a Q&A session with the fans, those who have bought the ticket for that part of the event. You'll be able to come and ask your questions, and the legends who have came in town early will take part of that. I've already got good response. The Tito Santanas, who's going to be joining us, will be there. He's looking forward to it. Greg Hammer Valentine is going to be at that. There will be many more that will be there that Friday night to have their answers ready for your questions that you're going to be giving them. And Bill is a gentleman who you want conducting an event like that, because he will keep it lively. And
oh yeah, I mean, he proved that last year with his one-man comedy routine. I don't even know if I would describe it as a comedy routine, because he had us all standing up, you know, doing the little dances and stuff. It was kind of crazy.
It was cool. I mean,
it was definitely
but
cool.
That's our good friend Bill Apter. But
yeah.
Let's do this right now. Let's take a little commercial break. And as I said at the beginning, we're going to talk about the past, the present, and the future. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the past of wrestling at the Chase. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, What Were They Thinking is proud to be a part of the show with Herb Simmons at SICW.
Show some enthusiasm, Joe. Put on a damn bow tie. We got Herb Simmons, we got the Kill Arena, we got St. Louis, where Mr. Briscoe is in the Hall of Fame. What Were They Thinking? It's available on Backstage Pass. Sportskeedas, our buddies. We talk about the wildest, the craziest, the dumbest, the insane moments in wrestling history that I'm proud to be a part of because, Mr. Briscoe, you're the one that hired me.
And I don't know what I was thinking when I did that, John.
That's not nice. Not nice at all. We love Herb Simmons, and Herb Simmons, you have been there forever. Mr. Briscoe thinks you might be 1,000. I don't think you're a day over 900. We love St. Louis. What were they thinking, Backstage Pass?
Well, fans, there you have it. What a promo by WWE legend JBL and Mr. Jerry Briscoe, who, by the way, Mr. Briscoe will be joining us in May.
Yes.
But, I mean, for them to talk about SICW and Herb Simmons, I mean, it makes you feel good. That was unsolicited. We were helping promote their Backstage Pass program, and if the fans have never listened to Jerry Briscoe and JBL's podcast, they're missing out.
They're like two people that should have been married, but finished the marriage because they hate each other and they like each other. It's great. It's a great listen. So
well, it's great, and when you have podcasts out there like that, I mean, they get to the nitty gritty. It's kind of like Teddy Long and Mac Davis, who, by the way, will be joining us again in May. Anytime you have Mac Davis and Teddy Long in the building, two great guys that you just want to come and be there. They're going to be part of the SICW Fan Fest 3. And, speaking of the podcast, I can't thank you and Bobby D and Nate. You guys are keeping it alive. You're out there keeping the fans informed of what's going on here, and we appreciate that.
we do our best. We love, all three of us love wrestling, and like if we're not wrestling, we're talking about wrestling, we're watching wrestling. So what's a better thing to do than do a podcast about wrestling?
And it's great. I try to tune in every week, and as of course I'm waiting for it to be a live session, because then you can interact more with the fans. But I understand you gotta crawl before you walk. So,
yes.
But stay tuned and keep an eye on the podcast that Texan and Bobby D and Nate is putting on. And if you haven't followed, tell them where they can follow you.
Always on YouTube. Squared Ring Podcast is the best place to catch us. Also on Instagram, same name. But I hope you try to catch it, and I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, and you share everything we do. And so, like I said, it's kind of a tag team in here is what we're doing. It's what we call that. So, but, we talked at the beginning about the past, the present, and future. So now, wrestling at the Chase, the household name, started with Sam Muchnick, was the NWA president off and on for 41 years, one of the greatest promoters ever. And yeah, I'm a little partial to that because I had the honor of not only knowing him, but sitting in the office with Larry when Larry went to work for him at an early age before he even had a driver's license.
Yeah, I heard stories. That's just crazy.
His dad, Edwin, would drive over, and of course, I would tag along. And to walk in the office and have Sam sitting there with the likes of a Gene Kaniski or a Fritz von Erich, or a Whipper Billy Watson. I remember one conversation. And, Sam always told Larry and I, what you hear here stays here. All the file cabinets was in there, which is kind of just ironic. A lot of the paperwork that I set in there with Larry and reviewed, I have now.
And that's just wonderful.
It's great to, on a Saturday when I have some time, to go and pull a box of them out and just kind of refresh my memory of what took place there. But when you hear, and I know, Jim, you've been around some of these legends, and don't you agree they've all said basically the same thing? You never made it to the big time until you made it to St. Louis.
Yeah. They always said that's how they knew they were on the road to success, is you had to stop off in St. Louis. And, Sam, being the president, picked the cream of the crop. So, and St. Louis was the home turf. Again, St. Louis wrestling. So you knew you were on your way to the stars when you were invited to St. Louis.
Well, and there was no other place like wrestling at the Chase, at that beautiful Coruscant room, which you wrestled there.
And I
Not back in those days.
Oh, no. I ain't that old, but I tell you, it was beautiful. I think I said it either on my podcast or on this channel. Even one time when Steve Finder had me laying on my back by body slamming me, I almost lost the match because I was looking straight up and I was seeing those antique lights. And
The same chandeliers that was there back in the day.
yeah, and I had to snap back out of it and lift the shoulder up because otherwise he would have just got a clean victory because I was in a daze just looking at this building.
Well, and like I said, we really was honored to be able to go there. It was something that Larry Matisek had always wanted to do, is go back and do a show there, and we never got that done while he was with us. But I had the sense that day that he was with us.
Oh yeah, he was definitely proud of you, proud of us. I mean,
It was great just being there, and so many guys. If you talk to Jerry Briscoe, people like that wrestled there, he's mentioned it's all the time when he does interviews. You name it. Anybody who, Greg Valentine, when I was talking to him about being inducted into the Hall of Fame, he just praised St. Louis, praised being at the Kiel Auditorium, or at the Checker Dome, and they still remember. Was it called the Checker Dome or was it called the Arena? That's why St. Louis stuck out in their mind, because one, the Coruscant room at the Chase Park Plaza, kings and queens and the Frank Sinatras of the world and people like that all performed there one time or the other.
presidents showed up there.
Yeah, and in here in 1959, 66 years ago, here's this smoke-filled room, men in their tuxedos smoking their stogies, women with pearl necklaces on, tablecloths on the table. And then here's the ring, and here's people like Rip Hawk or Farmer Marlin or Fritz von Erich or whoever, John Paul Henning, which was Darla Staggs is one of her favorite wrestlers.
Oh, yeah?
A shout out to
Shout
Darla.
out to Darla.
Can't forget Darla. Can't forget Barbara Goodish, who is one of the dearest people that you'll ever meet, who will be with us for the Bruiser Brody Memorial during the Fan Fest 3 in May. She's really excited. We did a little show here a couple of weeks ago with her, and she's excited about it. We're still keeping the legacy of her late great husband, Bruiser Brody, alive and well. Yeah. But speaking about these legends that talk about St. Louis, let's take a listen to what Ric Flair had to say about St. Louis, and we'll be right back.
Casey Caps wants to know, what are your thoughts about wrestling at the Chase? You talked about St. Louis earlier, man, and you got
the greatest. It was just tough though, because it was an hour-long show, 2 interviews, and then 2 matches. Mm-hmm. And it's in front of, like literally less than 100 people. And it's Sunday morning, you've been out all night long. Sometimes I flew in from like Atlanta, flew in from Portland, Oregon, wherever I was, just to be on the show. But tell you that wrestling in St. Louis was huge. I mean, that's how Jim Hurd, he was a station manager at KPLR. That didn't really qualify him as a wrestling expert, but somehow he convinced someone that it did, because the show was that popular. I think it was the first show to ever be sponsored by McDonald's.
Wow.
It was huge. The rating was unbelievable. And I think it was nationwide, wasn't it?
I don't know. I mean, I know it had a big reach. I didn't know it was nationwide.
Well, whatever it was huge.
Yeah, it had a big reach.
Yeah.
Sean Berkey wants to know, how did you feel about Buddy Landell using the Nature Boy moniker?
I didn't mind it at all. I feel bad that Buddy I don't know what to say about Buddy, except that he just, number one, he was a hell of a worker. Number two, I don't know how it got away from him, but I wasn't bothered by that. As a matter of fact, we had 2 or 3 really good matches. Buddy could work his ass off.
One in the Dorton Arena, right?
There and a couple other towns, I can't remember, but yeah, Buddy could really work. I worked with Buddy in San Juan. That's First time I met Buddy. Buddy could work though, and I liked him as a person. So you never know what these guys. You know what happens at the end of their career, and they do these things where they. I don't know if it's a real. I don't know if it's a real reflection on how they feel about you. But these guys do these. They're so hard up to do one of these to make 2,500 or whatever they make doing these shoot interviews.
Yeah.
And I think he cracked on me one time, but it's like Shane Douglas cracking on me. Who is Shane Douglas? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He made a living on doing it, but who is he? As we discussed, Caston and I discussed that last week. So you never know what people are going to do or what they're going to say when they're trying to make money, trying to create
Drama.
trying to not make drama, just trying to get themselves in a position where someone's listening to them.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I got along with Buddy. I thought he was a hell of a worker.
That's coming from the Nature Boy.
Woo! Yeah. I mean, anytime you get Ric Flair going and talking about things that he loves, and he'll tell you what he loves. He loves St. Louis.
Oh, exactly. And, he's even, it was in his book, and he's even talked about it, that Larry Matisek was the main reason he made it to St. Louis. He was with Crockett's working, and thank goodness Larry was in the KPLR studios at one time, and they were doing some taping, some post-editing, and they had Ric Flair's a match of him.
Yeah.
And Pat O'Connor, who was the booker at that time, Larry had called him in, and he wanted to show him Flair's match, and they watched about 5 minutes of it, and Pat O'Connor said, "Oh, he's too small." He said he'd never get over in St. Louis, and thank goodness Larry said, "Wait a minute," and he called Sam.
He's seen it. He's seen the charisma.
He saw it, and he called Sam, and Sam came down and looked at the tape, and he told Larry, he said, "You call Crockett and tell him I want him in here." And that's history.
Yes.
And now you hear what Rick said. St. Louis was the place, and they used to say the Chase was the place, and they definitely was right. And so that's why, I am so passionate about wrestling at the Chase, and that's why we do everything we can to keep that name of wrestling at the Chase alive, because so many of you wrestling fans either grew up on it, or your parents did, or your grandparents did. You heard those stories sitting around the supper table. And so SICW is wrestling at the Chase through and through. Old school, when you talk about old school, that's what SICW is.
Right. Today's product, it's a little bit Circus Olay, and it's not two gladiators going in there for battle. And that's what wrestling at the Chase was. It was two grown guys looking to see who was going to be the better one that night. And that's what I miss, and that's what you keep alive. That's what I try to keep alive. And hopefully St. Louis stays on the map of being a wrestling town, and that's driven from wrestling at the Chase.
Well, and that's, back then, and you hear so many of these legends, as I call them, Dory Funk Jr., like I said, Mr. Briscoe, the Valentines, whoever you talk to. It was good against evil back then. Nowadays, it's kind of like, in not a knock on it, or a knock on any other companies, but as far as old school, when we talk about old school, we are old school.
Right.
Back in November, the feud that we had lasted, it started and lasted 10 months.
Right.
And it came down to Team St. Clair, which was our good friend, the Night Train Gary Jackson,
yes, sir.
Danny Boy Hawkins, and Ron Powers defending the rights to keep SICW as is against Stephen E., who we all know is Stephen E. And whose team was made up of a Telecon, Haku, and the Barbarian. So when we say we're old school, we bring those legends in. We're bringing those legends in for a couple of reasons. One, because they're still out there tough. They're doing a job like Haku.
Right.
He used to be my friend. Someday maybe he'll turn back and be my friend again. I don't know.
Well,
but
if the money's there, you
yeah.
never know.
But so that was a great show. But that dispute, that argument, that feud, whatever you want to call it, lasts 10 months. And nowadays, you don't know if it's a feud. You know, guys, like you said, it's a circus of leg.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays it's just for that night. You know, you're wrestling an opponent for that night, and you know, whoever gets cheered is the one that does the craziest stunt or the the backflip off the top rope or something. Like I said, it's not like wrestling back then. You know, back then it was the strongmen. You know, it was the guys that, you know, just like any kind of martial arts or any kind of fighting, you know, any man can whoop someone else's butt on any given night. And that's what wrestling back in the day was. You had two strong guys going in there for battle to see who was going to be the better man that night. And, you know, they didn't have to do anything crazy. They just went in there and worked.
Oh, yeah. You know, when you had a match back in the day, Lou Thez against a Pat O'Connor, you know, a great scientific match until somebody threw the wrong punch, and then it got tuned up a little bit.
Until Lou found a way out and could hold on. I mean, Lou was known for just taking, you know, a body part and twisting until you gave up.
Yeah.
And that's what you don't see anymore, you know.
That's why he authored the book called The Hooker.
Yeah.
It tells the story in there. If you haven't seen that, pick that one up, and then you'll see what I'm
Great
talking
reading.
about.
I've probably read that thing 3 times.
Yeah, it's a great book. So you heard what Ric Flair had to say about wrestling in St. Louis and wrestling at the Chase. Let's take a listen to another great legend, a good friend of ours, the Boogie Woogie Man himself, Jimmy Valiant. We'll be right back.
TitleMatchNetwork.com.
You mentioned that you worked at the Chase at the Plaza Hotel. What are your memories of that atmosphere?
Oh man, oh it's wonderful, man! I tell you, it was such a you know, institution. That whole thing there, it was just on fire, and of course you know, the world champion would be there, and Pat O'Connor, man, and oh my goodness, all the boys would come out of Kansas City, you know, with Sam Mushnick, but Dick the Bruiser and Superstar Billy Graham, everybody came through there. But as far as the Chase and all that, that was were before my time, before I did. It was really a real classy thing. They had
tables and stuff,
tablecloth,
right?
Yeah. And you heard about the
I
big
see the footage.
Dick the Bruiser. Oh my goodness, and it's like a wrecking ball, man. You know, they just destroyed the place, and it killed that. You know, then they just had studio wrestling there.
Right.
But I just loved. I loved to go to the Chase, and I loved to go to the Kill Auditorium, and Rob, they had the biggest ring. They had a boxing ring, man. There, you know, a boxing ring, and it was so hard. And man, I watched, you know, month after month. You know, I can just picture now, you know, the world champ, you know, Briscoe and you know, Funk. Or you know, doing stuff, or with Harley and whoever, and just a standing suplex, man, you know, and just, man, he'd Harley hold him up forever, brother, man, and then just take that big bump, and whoa, I mean, just that one simple, oh man, just bring the people right out of their seats, and it was the hardest ring and the biggest ring. It was like a 22 footer,
right?
You know, and you're used to them 16 footers,
yeah.
Like, you know, they are standard, and boy, man, you're running forever to give that tackle, man, or whatever, them spots. And yeah, it was just a great place, great institution, man, there.
What about Sam Mushnick? What was he like?
Beautiful man. Oh, so nice, so kind, and you just loved him, you know. And he had a little, of course, his wrestling office, and just like in Houston, Texas, you know, and they all had their little wall of fame, man. And boy, I was so honored, you know. Years later, I'd go and you'd see your young picture there, and different, you know. It was like something really special, just like the amphitheater in Chicago, you know, with WWA and bruiser, and I was inducted in that Hall of Fame, with the youngest ever, and they had a big almost life-size poster, of each one, and it was hanging there until they tore it down. Yeah.
Well, there you hear the Boogie Woogie Man not only talking about wrestling in St. Louis, but he talked about who we've been talking about, the late, great Sam Muchnick, who was well respected in the industry. Not a lot of promoters out there get to claim that, other than a guy like Sam Muchnick or Paul Bosch, that had the respect of the boys.
And the community. I mean, don't forget, everyone knew him, doctors, lawyers. If you were a sports fan or an athlete, you knew who Sam Muchnick was.
Oh yeah, he was a reporter, and like I said, he had his ups and downs in the business. Back in the day, him and the Tom Pax feud. Luthez at one time didn't see eye to eye with Sam Muchnick, and then turned around to be best of friends.
Yeah, they all come around.
They all come around. Dick the Bruiser, people like that. That Sam could pick up the phone and call and say, "Hey, I want you in St. Louis," and they'd drop what they're doing and they'd come running. And that's kind of what we have now. I'm very fortunate to be able to pick up the phone and call these legends that you and I grew up on and say, "Hey, we got an event. I want to bring you in for the fans," and I'm really happy to do that.
Hey, I've heard stories where some of the legends heard that they weren't going there and didn't get that phone call, so they called you.
Yeah. Well, and I contributed that to them being too busy, and they just didn't see social media, or they didn't answer their phone because they were out somewhere else. Because they're not just sitting around waiting for Herb Simmons to call them. They stay busy, and I'm thankful that they are. But I tell you, when they know we're doing something here in the St. Louis area, or over at the Belle Claire Fairgrounds, or wherever it may be, at the Missouri Athletic Club, where we've taken the people like Ted DiBiase, Tito Santana, Buff Bagwell, Jake the Snake Roberts, Sergeant Slaughter, Jerry the King Lawler. Yes. When they know that they're coming to St. Louis or anywhere SICW is putting on a card, I think it speaks quality of what we do here at SICW. And if it sounds like I'm bragging a little bit, you're right on target, because it's something to brag about.
It is.
When you talk about 66 years of history, of legacy, of a program that is still talked about today. You go to anywhere, I don't care if it's in St. Louis, over in Illinois, and you mention wrestling at the Chase, somebody's got a story. Oh, yeah. It triggers that memory. Oh, my grandmother used to sit and beat the arms of the chair, or she'd get down on the floor. I remember Ed Wheatley, who authored the coffee table book, Wrestling at the Chase. Stories in there from people that he interviewed, where people's grandparents did this. When Larry Mattisek and I reproduced the 12 volumes of Wrestling at the Chase, when we had them for sale, so many people were calling and saying, I want to get them for a gift for my grandparents because I grew up watching it. And so, again, keeping those memories alive, and that's what we're doing right here at SICW. And I talk to Jimmy Valiant all the time, and I appreciate those kind words when he's talking about Sam and about St. Louis. We're going to take another quick commercial, and when we come back, we're going to talk just a little bit more about FanFest 3 and give you some of the legends that are already signed up coming in. Be right back.
SICW presents FanFest 3, St. Louis, May 16th and 17th, Hilton, St. Louis Airport, the Keena Cola, Missy Hyatt, Gangrel, Teddy Long and Mac Davis, Tito Santana, and Bill Apter. More to come. SICW FanFest 3. For more info, SICW.org.
What another great commercial by our good friend Mac Davis, talking about, yes, you heard it, FanFest 3 coming Friday, May 16th, and Saturday, May 17th. I hear Mac Davis's voice, and man, I get excited because he's got that radio voice, and it's here on TV, basically. And I'm so excited that Mac and Teddy Long, a WWE legend in his own right, is joining us there. But it's Friday, May 16th, Saturday, May 17th at the Hilton Hotel at the St. Louis Airport. Go to www.sicw.org for all the information you want. And Jim, I think you'll agree, we've kept it, once again, we've kept it pretty economical for the fans.
Oh yeah, talking to someone who actually has gone out to meet legends other places, the amount of money that you spend compared to ours is crazy. I mean, you definitely kept it fan friendly, and you actually have a lot of fans get on your Facebook and tell you that too, and just appreciate that. Some people just are out there to gouge, and you're not one of them.
No, I want the fans to be able to afford to come and meet these legends, get their autographs, get a picture signed by them, get to talk to them, and that's why I'm so happy that Mr. Apter and I came up with the thought of doing this Q&A, and I'm really can't wait to that, because I can just hear some of the fans coming and asking those questions about what they remember or what they were told from their parents or grandparents or what they saw on television. So I'm really excited about that. But talking about FanFest 3, I'm going to run down just a few of the names that's already signed on board. And, starting at the top, one of the ones, the minute we announced it, the phones just lit up, and that's Kevin Von Erich. And I know you even said that you had people calling you and say, Kevin Von Erich's coming to FanFest 3?
Right, because, that was a name that was, thrown around in St. Louis forever, and actually here in Belleville, too. The Von Erich family.
He was born and raised in Belleville.
Yeah. And, that movie that just came out kind of refired some people about the history of the Von Erichs and how they got started and working for their father. That was definitely a great pickup for us.
Well, and that's, and to be able to add him on there, and Kevin and I talk frequently, and we've tried to get him back into the area numerous times, but his schedule has been busy, and before he was still living in Hawaii, and the traveling was kind of rough for him. But now that he's moved back to the States, like Jim said, the movie The Claw came out. He's been doing a lot of traveling, promoting that. But now the timing is right, so he's agreed to come in and be here on that Saturday. He won't be here that Friday night, but he'll be here that Saturday. And he's really looking forward to coming in, and we're excited about having him.
And that's a lot of these legends are like that, because back in the day, you didn't discuss the business. You didn't go around meeting fans on a regular basis. It was the ones that showed up at the arena or the ones that showed up at the ballroom. And then it was just a wave, maybe an autograph as they walked back to the dressing room. They're finally opening up. They're finally going around and touring and meeting their fans. So this is the greatest opportunity for you to do that. You need to come out. You need to see the legends that's available and meet them and talk to them. They love hearing your stories too. Tito Santana, I bring him up constantly because he's the latest one who really never really toured until recent years. And when he was in our locker room, there was a circle of us all around him just asking him questions. And he wasn't the type to make it a quick answer and out the door. He stayed there, and it was great. He told us everything we wanted to know. Yeah. And it was just amazing just to hear from a legend like that.
And speaking of Tito Santana, he is going to be with us for the FanFest 3. So, just if those names haven't been enough to make you want to go get a ticket, the Rock and Roll Express, who's been with us before. Great tag team, one of the greatest of all time. Ricky Martin or Robert Gibson.
And
will
they're
be
still
here.
working.
And they're still working. Still working. The Rock and Roll Express, Gangrel, be his first time with us. But a lot of interest, a lot of fans texting and calling and say, oh man, how did you get him?
Yeah, the old vampire warrior. It's awesome.
Another one, a lot of excitement about is Bugsy McGraw. Had just a call, last week from some fans saying, oh man, he's so-and-so's favorite. We definitely want to come and see Bugsy
Another
McGraw.
one who doesn't really go out to these things. So,
right.
Take the benefit right now.
And of course, what I would recommend is, don't get a haircut a couple of weeks before because you can show up because the barber is going to be there. Brutus the Barber Beefcake will be at FanFest 3, so I'm sure he'll have his hair clippers and his shears with him. And
I'm sure the last time he did, he stopped off at a barber shop. So
and when we had him at the Missouri Athletic Club, we got the video of where he had one of the fans would come over and stuck his head down, and he took them shears and clipped a little bit of hair off of him. So he's a barber, I'm telling you. Nikita Koloff, another one who has not been out on a lot of the FanFest, is going to be here, and we're really excited about that because one of our inductees into the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame is Ivan Koloff, and Nikita is going to be there to accept the award on the late Ivan Koloff.
That just puts a smile on my face. You know, they had such a bad reputation back in the day, but you know, growing up, you either love the heelish type of ones or, you know, what we call the baby faces. But you definitely got to give these guys props because they were great.
Well, and that's just a few of the names. We can sit here for another hour and give you some more of them. I am going to tell you, too, that's not even been announced yet because I just made the arrangements within the last 24 hours. Dr. D. David Schultz is returning to SICW FanFest. And if you don't know who Dr. D. David Schultz is, I don't know where you've been living, because he's the man that delivered the slap that was heard around the world.
Oh, yes. And again, I think actually until you dragged him out of his house, he was another one who wasn't touring. So you're the one who actually started this. So, I mean, we definitely got to thank you for that.
Well, you know, Stan Hansen was another one. Now, Stan's not going to be able to make it this year, but, you know, he wrote his book, and I had to explain to him and Dr. D both, you know, when you write a book, you got to go out and promote it. People aren't going to just come to you, and they got out there, and they both got on the tour trail and are out making these appearances. So I'm really excited. Dr. D, we haven't even put the poster out about him. That was just made. So the good doctor will be in the house Friday and Saturday, May 16th and 17th. And then another one I'll go ahead and tell you about, and you'll see the poster coming out real soon. One of the all-time ECW greats, Shane Douglas.
Ooh. Talking about a guy who has wrestling history, just because, you know, he was in the NWA, and we all know that one particular night when he held up the heavyweight championship and threw it down, and then established ECW.
Yeah, so there's a guy, and he loves to tell stories about their business. So make sure, like I said, just with those few names that we just threw out there now, you ought to be on your computer, on your phone, going to SICW.org and saying, hey, which best package fits me? Because we have to let these legends know what we're doing. So we're going to wrap this up real quick.
Well, hold on.
Something important?
Well, yes, because it's almost like an ECW reunion, because not only you got Shane, but you also got the madman there. Now I can't think of his name. This is what happens to me. The Sheik. Sabu.
Yeah, I didn't have his name down, but Sabu is going to be there. So imagine those two in the building together. So real quickly, May 16th, May 17th, SICW FanFest 3. Not only the question and answer that takes place that Friday night with Bill Apter, but then Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, the FanFest will start. It'll run until about 5 p.m. Then the Hall of Fame inductions will take place. The one award that I didn't mention, but I will, our good friend Ron Powers will be receiving the Sam Muchnick Award. Well-deserving. Ron is one of the all-time greats. Traveled with Bruiser Brody, Crusher Blackwell, Dick Murdoch, and just recently, November the 23rd, helped save SICW. So Ron will be there accepting the Sam Muchnick Award. But then it all ends with the Bruiser Brody Battle Royal and the big SICW wrestling card. We've already got Steve Fender that's entered into it. James Jeffries is going to be there. And guess who else told me he wants to be in it is Shane Douglas.
Oh, my God, really?
Oh, yes. And so I'm getting the Beer City Bruiser is going to be in it. People are coming from all over wanting to be a part of the Bruiser Brody Battle Royal that win that big trophy cup. So fans, we told you this episode was the past, the present, and future of not only wrestling at the Chase memories, but SICW is continuing those memories, and in 2025, we're going to continue to make a lot more memories. So we appreciate you joining us here each and every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Over the next several weeks, we're going to have more special guests joining us, and you never know who it's going to be. Thank you, and we'll see you next Sunday right back here.